Oh, this is going to be a fun one. Every biker has that one thing that instantly pisses them off. You know what I'm talking about. Those little annoyances, dumb comments, and clueless behaviors that make you wonder how some people function in everyday life. From idiot drivers to non-riders who just don't get it. Today, we're diving into the stuff that makes every true biker's blood boil. If none of these things annoy you, then I've got bad news. You may not actually be a real rider. Let's get into it. Number 1, clueless people sitting on your bike without asking. Nothing makes a rider's blood pressure spike faster than walking outside and seeing some random idiot sitting on their bike. It's always the same type, the guy who just couldn't resist. Maybe he's posing for a picture, twisting the throttle like a child, or worst of all, messing with your controls. And the moment you call them out, they always hit you with the same stupid excuse. Relax, man, I'm just looking. I wasn't going to steal it. Dude, it's just a bike. No, it's not just a bike. It's my bike. And you wouldn't hop into someone's car without permission. So what makes you think you can straddle my machine like it's some sort of carnival ride? Bikes aren't like cars. You don't just sit on them without knowing what you're doing. One wrong move and you could drop it, scratch it, or screw with something important. And if you think bikers overreact about this, it's because we've all seen it happen before. Some clueless moron hops on a parked bike, loses balance, and the next thing you know, it's on its side, damaged, and they're just standing there looking guilty. So here's a free lesson for anyone who doesn't ride. Don't touch a motorcycle that isn't yours. You want a picture? Ask. You want to sit on it? Ask. But if you just help yourself, don't be surprised when the owner helps themselves to yelling at you. Number 2, drivers who don't check their mirrors. Nothing pisses off a rider more than a clueless driver who acts like motorcycles don't exist. You know the type, never checks their mirrors, never signals, and just drifts into your lane like you're invisible. It happens all the time. You're riding along, minding your business, when suddenly a car starts creeping into your lane. No signal, no head check, just pure, unfiltered stupidity. And the worst part? They never even notice. You could be laying on your horn, revving your engine, waving your arms, and they're still staring at their phone, completely oblivious. These are the same drivers who cut you off at intersections, pull out without looking, or slam on their brakes for no reason. And when they finally realize they almost killed you, they either shrug it off or somehow act like it's your fault. This is why experienced riders never trust cars. We ride like everyone on the road is an idiot, because statistically speaking, they probably are. And don't even get me started on the people who see you but still don't respect your space. You're in their mirror, you're in their blind spot, and yet they still act like they own the road. So here's a tip for any driver out there. Use your damn mirrors. Check your blind spots, signal your lane changes, and remember that motorcycles exist. Because if you keep driving like you're the only one on the road, one day you're gonna hear a very loud bang, and it won't be the sound of your favorite song on the radio. Number 3, people who think riding a motorcycle is too dangerous. Every rider has dealt with this conversation at least once. You mention that you ride, and immediately, some random person has to chime in with their expert opinion. Oh, motorcycles are so dangerous. I knew a guy who crashed once. You should be careful. Aren't you afraid you'll die? Oh, really? I had no idea. Thank you, random person who has never ridden a motorcycle, for your groundbreaking insight. Look, we get it. Motorcycles come with risks. So does driving a car, walking across the street, or eating gas station sushi. Life is full of risks. But bikers don't ride because it's the safest option. We ride because nothing else even comes close. And let's be real, most of the people who say this stuff don't actually care about your safety. They just want to feel like they're smarter than you. Meanwhile, they'll text and drive, blow through stop signs, and tailgate at 80 miles per hour. But somehow, you're the reckless one. The truth is, motorcycles aren't inherently dangerous. Stupid people are. A responsible rider with the right skills and mindset can ride for decades without an issue. But that doesn't stop people from acting like every ride is a death sentence. So, next time someone gives you the motorcycles are dangerous speech, just smile, nod, and let them get back to their safe, boring little life. Because if you have to explain the thrill of riding to someone, they'll never understand it anyway. Number 4, people who assume you're in a gang. You roll up on your bike, take off your helmet, and within seconds, someone gives you the look. You know the one. The nervous glance, the fake polite smile, the hesitation before they ask, "So are you in a biker gang? Do you guys, own the highway? Should I be worried?" Oh yeah, Karen, you really nailed it. Every person on two wheels is obviously a member of an underground criminal organization. It doesn't matter if you're riding a Harley, a sport bike, or even a damn Vespa. Some people just can't shake the stereotype. They see leather, a vest, or even just a group of bikers together, and their imagination runs wild. Never mind the fact that most bikers are just normal people. Doctors, mechanics, teachers, business owners. We just prefer two wheels over four. But that doesn't stop people from assuming we're all out here running illegal operations and starting bar fights. And the funniest part? The people who actually are in real outlaw clubs don't go around bragging about it. If someone rolls up telling you they're a one-percenter and flashing fake patches, they're probably about as real as a Hollywood stunt double. So no, not every biker is in a gang. Some of us just like riding, wrenching, and hanging out with friends. But if you keep assuming otherwise, don't be surprised if we start playing into the stereotype just to mess with you. Number 5, clueless passengers who don't know how to sit still. Riding with a passenger can be great if they actually know what they're doing. But sometimes you get stuck with a clueless rookie who makes your life miserable. They fidget, lean the wrong way in turns, let go at random times, or worst of all, start shifting around like they're trying to adjust an invisible seatbelt. You take a corner, and suddenly they lean the opposite direction, throwing off your balance. You hit the brakes, and they nearly smash helmets with you because they don't brace themselves. And let's not forget the ones who try to help by putting their feet down at stoplights, like that's somehow going to stabilize the bike. It's not their fault if they're new to riding, but if you're going to hop on the back of a motorcycle, at least take a minute to learn the basics. Hold on, stay centered, and lean with the bike, not against it. Simple, right? You'd think so, but somehow some passengers just don't get it. If you're ever bringing a newbie along for a ride, do yourself a favor. Explain the basics before they get on. Because once you're rolling, you don't want to be fighting their every move. Number 7. People who think your bike is cheap just because it has two wheels. Some people just don't get it. They look at your motorcycle and assume, oh, you must have bought that because you couldn't afford a car. Excuse me? Do these people have any idea how much a well-maintained Harley, Ducati, or BMW costs? Do they think motorcycles just fall out of the sky for free? Sure, some bikes are cheap, but so are some cars. That doesn't mean every car on the road is a beater, and it sure as hell doesn't mean every bike is some bargain bin alternative to four wheels. I've seen people drop more money on a single custom motorcycle than others spend on an entire garage full of cars. But no, go ahead, keep assuming every rider is broke. And don't even get me started on the people who think a bike is just a toy. A toy? You mean the machine that can out-accelerate most sports cars? You mean the vehicle that requires actual skill and control to operate safely? A toy, really? Then why do you look so scared when I offer you a ride? Motorcycles aren't about affordability. They're about passion. And if you don't get that, you're probably the kind of person who buys a car just because it has a cup holder. Number 8, clueless people who say, "Why don't you just get a car?" Oh, here we go again. Nothing makes a biker roll their eyes harder than some clueless person looking at their motorcycle and saying, "Why don't you just get a car?" Gee, thanks for the suggestion, genius. I never thought of that. Let me explain something real simple. Riding a motorcycle isn't about needing transportation. If it were just about getting from point A to point B, I'd be driving some dull, soulless metal box like you. But I'm not, because I ride for the thrill, the freedom, the connection to the road. Something you clearly wouldn't understand. This is the type of person who probably sits in rush hour traffic every day, miserable, dreaming about the weekend. Meanwhile, I'm splitting lanes, taking the scenic route, and actually enjoying the ride. And let's be real, these people don't say this because they care. They say it because they don't get it. They think motorcycles are just an inconvenience, something impractical, something people only ride because they can't afford a car. Yeah, no, I can afford a car, I just don't want one. So if you're going to ask why I don't just get a car, don't be surprised when I ask you why you settled for a life without excitement. Number 9. People who assume riding is easy. Some people just don't get it. They see you riding and say, "Oh, that looks so easy. I bet I could do that." Yeah, go ahead, hop on. Let's see how that works out for you. What they don't realize is that riding a motorcycle isn't just sitting there and twisting the throttle. It's about balance, throttle control, clutch work, braking technique, and knowing how to handle different road conditions. It's about being hyper aware of every car around you, knowing how to predict what other drivers are about to do, and always having an escape route. It's a skill. It takes practice. It takes experience. And if you don't respect it, the road will remind you real fast. But the worst ones? The people who think riding a motorcycle is just like riding a bicycle. Oh, you rode a bicycle as a kid? Well, that's cute. Try managing 700 pounds of metal while dodging potholes and idiots who don't check their mirrors. Let me know how that works out for you. So next time someone tells you that riding looks easy, just hand them the keys and watch their face turn pale. Because the truth is, riding is easy to learn, but hard to master. And the ones who underestimate it, they're the ones who end up dropping the bike in a parking lot. Number 10. People who tailgate motorcycles like it's no big deal. There are a few things dumber than tailgating a motorcycle, but somehow it happens all the time. You're cruising along, keeping a safe following distance, and suddenly, some impatient driver decides they need to be 2 feet off your rear tire. Why? Because they think they're pushing you to go faster. Listen, genius, this isn't a game. If you hit my back wheel, I don't just get a fender bender. I get a one-way ticket to the hospital. Bikers hate tailgaters because we know the risk. If a car rear-ends another car, it's a minor accident. If a car rear-ends a bike, it's life-threatening. And it's not just aggressive drivers. Some people tailgate bikes without even realizing it. They assume that because a motorcycle is small, they can follow closer. They have no idea how dangerous that actually is. Here's a tip for anyone driving behind a bike. Back off. Give riders space, because if you're tailgating a motorcycle and something happens, you won't just be late to your destination, you'll be calling an ambulance. And if you think flashing your headlights and riding my ass is going to make me move faster, buddy, I've got some bad news for you. I'll drop a gear and slow down just to make your life miserable. Number 11. People who park like idiots in motorcycle spaces. Oh, this one really gets on my nerves. You pull up to a store, gas station, or restaurant, and there it is, a designated motorcycle parking space. But instead of bikes, some clueless driver decided it was their personal parking spot. It's always the same type. Maybe it's some guy in a compact car who thinks it's just a small space, so it's fine. Or even worse, a massive SUV that takes up the entire area meant for multiple bikes. Hey buddy, see the sign with the motorcycle on it? That means it's not for you. Motorcycle spaces exist for a reason. Bikes don't need a full parking spot, and we park in designated areas so that we're not taking up unnecessary space. But when some idiot with a car decides to squeeze in, it forces bikers to park somewhere unsafe, or worse, try to cram into a tiny space that wasn't meant for them. And don't even get me started on drivers who block a row of motorcycles in. If I come back to my bike and your car is blocking me in, I hope you enjoy waiting while I take my sweet time getting out. Moral of the story, if you drive a car, stay out of motorcycle parking. It's not yours. And if you take our space, don't be surprised when we park right up against your door. Number 12. People who call your bike a crotch rocket or a donor cycle. There's nothing more infuriating than some clueless person throwing around dumb nicknames for motorcycles like they know what they're talking about. Oh, you ride one of those crotch rockets. Hope you got a good life insurance plan. That's a donor cycle. Man, those things are just accidents waiting to happen. First of all, shut up. Second, stop acting like you know anything about motorcycles. Yes, sport bikes are fast. Yes, motorcycles are riskier than driving a minivan. But calling them donor cycles like every rider is just waiting to hand over their organs? That's just ignorant. Most of the time, these comments come from people who have never even been on a bike. They've just seen a few crash videos online and think they're experts. Meanwhile, they'll drive like absolute lunatics in their own cars. But somehow, you're the one taking unnecessary risks. And let's not forget, not every bike is a sport bike. If I'm rolling up on a Harley bagger and you call it a crotch rocket, I immediately know you have no idea what you're talking about. So if you're not a rider, here's a tip. Don't use dumb biker slang unless you actually know what it means. Otherwise, you're just embarrassing yourself. Number 13, people who tap on your helmet like it's a toy. If there's one thing that will make any biker instantly see red, it's some clueless idiot thinking it's funny to tap on their helmets. You know the type. Some random person sees you with your lid on and thinks, "Oh, I'll just knock on their helmet like it's a door." Newsflash, it's not funny, it's just annoying. Helmets are part of a rider's gear, not a party trick. They're expensive, personal, and made for protection, not for you to knock on like you're checking if someone's home. And let's not forget, tapping on someone's helmet while they're wearing it is straight up disrespectful. Imagine if someone just walked up and smacked the side of your head. You wouldn't like that, would you? Next time someone gets the brilliant idea to tap on your helmet, just stare at them like they're the biggest idiot on the planet. Because if they don't ride, they'll never understand why it's so damn annoying. If you've been nodding along, shaking your head, or feeling a little rage bubbling up inside you, congrats, you're a real rider. Because every biker has dealt with this nonsense at some point. The clueless drivers, the dumb questions, the people who just don't get it, it's all part of the life we choose. But now I want to hear from you. What's something that pisses you off as a rider? Is there something I missed? Drop a comment and let's vent about it together. And if you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and stick around because trust me, there's plenty more riding wisdom coming your way. Ride safe, ride smart, and as always, keep the rubber side down.